Welcome, everybody. It is time for Sports Stuff Hub Live. It is, and I see I have the wrong date on there, which is now fixed. It is Tuesday, August 24th, Kobe Day, Mamba Day, 8/24. And we've had a lot go on over the last week, over the last couple months, but especially over the last week. There's a lot to talk about, whether it's hobby related or sports related. It's all tied, and there's a lot to cover. And so I'm going to do my best to cover all this tonight in a very limited amount of time, because, to be quite honest, there's a lot to discuss, especially if we get a good discussion going here. What's going on, David? In the hobby, because we do blend the hobby with sports on this show, and last week there was a bombshell that was dropped on the collectibles world. Topps Manufacturing, Topps Chewing Gum, TCG, whatever you want to refer to it as, has had a baseball license and partnered with MLB since 1951, and it's come out that they're going to lose their licensing, according to current news that we're being handed. The MLBPA and MLB have agreed to hand over licensing rights to Fanatics, and it's got a lot of people up in arms about it, and a lot of people are frustrated because they don't want Fanatics to have this license. They want Topps to be able to continue to make baseball cards. This goes beyond just MLB as well. NBA PA and the NFL PA have also agreed with Fanatics, and it looks like the NBA has also, and NFL is about to be on board. It sounds like we're going to have a clean sweep of all three major pro sports leagues that are going to be signed with Fanatics for exclusive rights. What this means as it stands is that Fanatics would be the only manufacturer allowed to make sports cards. Now, this deal is multi-fold. The Players Association rights take effect as of 2023. The league rights take effect 2026. So Topps, Panini still have rights to be able to make cards for at least the next 2 seasons. I don't know how this is going to shake out with the Players Association, but I know that they'll be able to make cards at least for the next 2 years. Now, again, I'm trying to temper my expectations with all of this, and I'm trying to not be overly critical about the decision, because I believe that there's a lot of information that's going to come out. I've been told by a number of people that the deal with MLB was about a $2 billion deal with Fanatics. I've also read multiple reports saying that Topps never was given an opportunity to match the deal with Fanatics. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I don't work for Topps, and I don't work for Fanatics, unfortunately. They're a large company, very large company. And I don't know for sure if that is actually legitimate or not. But what it boils down to, MLB, NBA, and NFL get a sizable payout from the manufacturers, the card manufacturers, the trading card manufacturers each year in order to print their cards. Whether that's a $400 million deal, a $1 billion deal, I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. I probably should have had that to be able to discuss tonight, but to be honest, it's a moot point. That's a sizable chunk of change. $500 million, billion, $2 billion. Nowhere in my entire body do I believe for a second that the MLB would surrender, or not surrender would be a bad word, sacrifice a $500 million deal. We'll call it on the low end $500 million. Nowhere in my entire body do I believe that MLB would sacrifice on a whim a $500 million deal. Nowhere in my entire body do I believe that MLB would take a chance on a company that's never manufactured a card in their existence to give up a $500 million just to make $2 billion for 1 year. Nowhere in my entire body do I believe that Fanatics is actually going to attempt to manufacture cards. I don't believe it. So, and again, I'm trying to not dive too deep into this because I'm waiting for the rest of the announcements to come out. And I fully believe that in the next 12 months we are going to have a fair amount of announcements that do surface, that do come forward in this entire deal. I think there's going to be a lot of information that comes out. I think there's going to be a lot of deals struck. And I don't believe for a second that Fanatics is going to try to manufacture and handle it all, because it's too big of a market for one company to be able to own and distribute and handle when they've never been in the market before. Fanatics, as we all know, has done a number of exclusive sets with joining with Panini and Topps over the last few years. There's been Fanatics exclusive Prism products and Select products and Contenders products and blah blah blah, the list goes on and on. But Fanatics did not manufacture those cards. Fanatics didn't even distribute the cards. Fanatics was just a selling point. If you read the fine print on any manufacturer, on any Fanatics listing for sports cards, it says right on them that they are not the distributor, that the manufacturer will be sending you the cards. If you order cards from Fanatics, they're actually shipped from Topps and from Panini. They're not shipped from Fanatics. Fanatics doesn't warehouse them. They just have a direct account that links product that they have set aside for selling on Fanatics with the manufacturers. So they're distributed by the manufacturer, not by Fanatics. Fanatics is just the selling company. It would be like if I had a direct account with Topps and I wanted to sell you Topps Chrome Baseball but have Topps ship it. Same thing. It's exactly what Fanatics does on their website. They don't actually possess any of the product. So, again, I don't believe for a second that that the MLB, the NFL, or the NBA would sacrifice that level of dollar value in contracts on a company that's never manufactured, never even actually physically owned, possessed cards for distribution. Don't believe it. So, what I believe is potentially going to be happening is Fanatics is going to be for lack of a better term, parent company of the licensing rights, and then they will sub it out to Topps and Panini and Upper Deck and Onyx and all these other companies. This could be big. This could be a very, very good thing, because we could be seeing Leaf get licensing rights to some products, Onyx get licensing rights to some products, Topps get licensing rights to some products for baseball or for basketball and football again. We could see a back more towards like what we saw in the 90s with multiple companies having rights without becoming a junk wax era. Because if Fanatics is going to control it all and say, no, Panini, we're going to give you the rights to print football cards, and we're going to give you the ability to print A, B, C, D, and E product lines. Topps, we're going to give you football, but we're going to give you the rights to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I, maybe even J and K. Let's go that far. Leaf, we're going to give you L, M, and N. And then Onyx, we're going to give you O. And all of a sudden, instead of 600 brands that Panini releases each year, they release 15. And that wouldn't be a bad thing. And to be honest, it would be smart, especially then if Fanatics goes, okay, Panini, your Prism product is one of your most popular and sought after cards. We want you to make that this year, but with a caveat. A, we want our exclusive Fanatics products, but we want you to cap your print runs, and we want more transparency on it. That could be a great thing. Now, I'm not saying that's how they're going to do it, but if Panini is all of a sudden given restrictions instead of just free range to do whatever they want, and Fanatics goes, no, we want you to manufacture your Prism product, but we want you to make sure that your print run for your cards doesn't exceed X. You can do the different parallels, but you can't exceed base card print run of X to keep it from going mass level. Because the way we were going over the last little while was unsustainable. Print runs for products was going up too much, and that's what was with the lower print runs, with the higher demand, that's what was causing a lot of the spike in the pricing. Was demand had finally surpassed supply. When you have so many people excuse me, that all of a sudden get into a market and want product from that market, but the manufacturers weren't prepared for it, scarcity becomes a real thing. We see it in the retail all the time. I'm starting to notice it still in hobby products. I'm going to hobby stores, card shops, and they're not having product on the shelf, and it's not because of breakers taking it all. I literally see guys get cases of product, and they sell cases of product in a day. In 2016, when I was breaking, I would break a case of product for group breaks. I would have boxes to sell, and I would try to compete with the Blowouts and the DAs and the Steel Cities and all the big guys out there that are selling in volume. And I'd have products sometimes sitting on my shelves for weeks. I used to be able to go to a card shop and product would sit on the shelf from years prior even. Go to a card shop now and tell me the last time you saw product from the 2019-20 basketball season at a reasonable price that's not flown off the shelf. I'm not talking about going and finding a $2,800 box of hobby Prism basketball. I'm talking about what the price it was on release day. Find it on the shelf from the year prior. It's not there. You go to most hobby shops and they don't have excuse me. They don't have 600 different products sitting on their shelves like it was 10 years ago. Because people are scooping it up and ripping it. It's not just breakers. There's a lot of breakers out there, but it's not the breakers that are the ones that are scooping all of it up. I see a lot of product getting ripped one box at a time. I see a lot of it. Just today I stopped by Collector's Corner Northwest to say hi to the guys, and there was a kid in there, and JB was working, and JB asked if I'd hit anything big in breaks lately. I was like, I kind of gave him a little bit of a rundown of the last few break nights. Nothing huge, and except for the LaMelo, which he'd already seen, the LaMelo Select RPA tie dye. He'd already seen that I'd hit that, and he's like, you got to look at this kid. And there's this younger kid. He was probably 8, 9 years old, maybe 10 at most, and he's like, hey, he looks at the kid and he goes, hey, show Ryan what you pulled. And this kid was excited. It was just a blast to see. This kid pulls out of his pocket a Elements Trevor Lawrence jersey swatch out of $2.99. Okay, but on top of that was a 2-2 Atwell NFL Shield 1/1 RPA. And I'm like, wow, way to go, kid. Heck yeah, that's awesome. And this kid was stoked. And then he pulls out a third card, and he ripped a box of Score football and pulled out a Mahomes auto out of 5. And I'm looking at this kid, and I'm like, that, okay. Yeah, and I gave him a fist bump. I was like, right on, kid. Heck yeah. I'm seeing kids hitting cards like that, being able to sell the cards, and then buy themselves a hobby box. Because we're getting to a point now where the hobby boxes are starting to come down a little bit on release day, and then they're starting to go back up shortly after. Elements Football, for example, came out last Friday. Elements Football was $320 a box on release day. Now it's over $400. You can't pick it up for under $4. Maybe there's a few places that you can at $380, but very little. Most places I'm seeing now are above $4. Select Football from last year has come down because it jumped way up to start. It was unrealistic. To get $1,800 a box was unrealistic. That's not sustainable, especially once they screwed Select Football up with the amount of retail that they pumped out. And the retail, all the base cards were identical to the hobby, and there was nothing that really set it apart, because before you'd always chase die cuts in Select. That was supposed to be hobby exclusive. Zebras, hobby exclusive. Well, that stuff's all in retail now, and it absolutely submarined the price of Select. Now you can pick up Select, I want to say, $1,200 a box. Still unreasonable, but better than what it was on release day. But so now we're seeing brands, Gold Standard, Elements, all coming out now, and these are the first cards we're seeing the autographs and the hits of the rookies in their NFL uniforms. But now the values are coming up instead of having to go down after release day. We're seeing a lot of products from 2020 that went down after release day. Now in 2021, they're starting to climb, like basketball did last year. I should say in 1920 season. So if we're seeing that happening in football, that's a good thing, because we're seeing a lot of people rip stuff. I'm seeing, obviously there's a ton of breakers out there. I do a little bit myself. I do one night a week. That's it. And I just break a few boxes. That's it. I don't go after cases. I don't do full case breaks. I don't rip a ton of product. I don't break a ton of product. Excuse me. I rip a lot for myself, a fair amount. But I don't do a lot of group breaks. And because the prices are still too outrageous for me to want to do that stuff, because it's hard to, for me, it's hard to justify asking people to spend, $150, $200 to get in for 20 hits, 15 hits, 12 hits. $20, different story. A lot of people can shell out $20 and take the gamble on whether they're going to hit the big card. A lot of the breaks that we run are card heavy, so we try to make it so that everybody's going to get a little something. A lot of times people go empty-handed, but $20 2-3 box breaks are a lot easier to swallow than 100 to 150 8 box breaks. Now, yeah, 8 boxes, you're spreading it out a little bit more. There's more that can be hit. But, for me also being a smaller breaker, a smaller business where I don't have 500 people trying to break with me every week, I'm also trying to not expect everybody to drop $150 a night every time I'm breaking. I mean, if I can get 100 people in that are putting in $15 to $25, and then 20 people that are putting in 50-ish, then that fills all my breaks. So product coming down at the start is helping, and I kind of think that's where we're going to be headed here with Fanatics, especially with the licensing thing, because now it's going to give us the variety if they do it this way. Now again, it's pure speculation. I'm not saying that Fanatics is going to lease out or sub out the licensing rights to the different manufacturers. But I tell you one thing, it would be fantastic to get Topps Chrome basketball and Topps Chrome football back. I would love to see that. I would love to see exquisite basketball back. I'd love to see exquisite football back. Fleer basketball, Fleer metal. Could you imagine getting Precious Metal Gems licensed basketball product? I'm tired of living in the 90s on some of that stuff. I'm tired of having to shop for 90s inserts because you can't get the look of some of the cards because the manufacturing can't be done because of licensing rights. Now, I had this discussion over the weekend. We had a card show, which I'll talk about later. If Upper Deck is included in all of this, if this does happen, and Upper Deck is part of this, what happens to the MJ brand? What happens to LeBron? What happens to Ben Simmons, who have all these exclusive deals with Upper Deck? How does this work in the future for Michael Jordan? Because what if Fanatics comes to Upper Deck and says, hey, we want you to make basketball cards again, but we need Michael Jordan on board with our other manufacturers. Michael Jordan and Upper Deck have worked exclusive together for a number of years. I can't recall the last time you can find a Michael Jordan autographed card in a different brand. I don't even know if they exist. I don't even, you know what? I don't, off the top of my head, I don't even recall when the Michael Jordan Upper Deck deal was signed. I don't. But could you imagine getting a Topps Chrome Michael Jordan now in 2021? Could you imagine when this deal goes through and they've got the rights and all of a sudden they go, yeah, Upper Deck, we'd love for you to make basketball again. We want you to make a licensed exquisite product, and you get an exquisite Michael Jordan in a Bulls jersey in 2026. A dual auto LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Lakers, Bulls out of 23. Exquisite. I think I just probably turned some people on by even mentioning that. Could you imagine getting a LeBron, Michael Jordan? Who else is an Upper Deck exclusive still? Well, Ben Simmons is, we know that. But could you imagine getting, oh, here's one for you. Could you imagine getting a dual auto cross sport Michael Jordan, Mike Trout? Or LeBron, Mike Trout. LeBron James, Mike Trout duel. LA connection. How amazing would that be? So, again, I'm trying to not get overly worked up about the whole Fanatics deal because I do see some positives that could come out of this. Yes, I see that there could be some major pitfalls in the entire thing. I think there could be, this could get screwed up big time. Yes. But I think that there's more positives that could come out of it than negatives, especially if Fanatics is as smart as I think they are. They're not a multi-billion-dollar company for no reason. And in fact, before I stop and change the subject, Fanatics net worth. Fanatics, latest round-propelled Fanatics valuation is somewhere between 12 to 18 billion. 12 to 18 billion. That's pretty big. Let's compare that to Topps. Topps net income from 2017 is the last report showing when I Google it, was 101 million fiscal in 2017. And now that Topps lost their deal with going public, that just brought the valuation down more. I would probably say Topps, I think I heard online when all this stuff hit the fan with Fanatics that Topps was probably worth around 700 million, which sounds about right. Panini's probably worth a little bit more than that. Upper Deck, couldn't even begin to guess on that one. Might as well, since I got it pulled up, we might as well look. Upper Deck net worth. It's only 250 employees. It doesn't even say. So, my guess is that Upper Deck is probably not worth more than $1 billion. Fanatics is bigger than all three card manufacturers combined. They're probably bigger than every card manufacturer in the world combined. If we added Sage, Leaf, Onyx, Upper Deck, Topps, and Panini, and any other brand out there, I would probably be fairly confident in betting my left nut that Fanatics is still bigger than them combined. So I don't necessarily know if Fanatics is going to buy any of them, because we've all seen throughout the pandemic that a lot of the card manufacturers out there don't actually do their own manufacturing. They sub it out to printing press companies. Now, is Fanatics potentially going to cut deals with those printing press companies? Yeah, sure, they could. But, I mean, if they can make a fair amount of money in a deal where Topps and Panini and Upper Deck would be handing them over royalties money and cutting multi-million-dollar deals, $100+ million deals to have the ability to print product, I could see it working. And like I said, I would not hate the scenario where we get Topps Chrome football back, where we get just Topps brands back in football and basketball, where we get Upper Deck back in football and basketball. And to be honest, I wouldn't hate seeing Panini get a license for baseball. I wouldn't hate Prism having logos. I wouldn't hate having Select be logoed. I would be okay with that. It wouldn't bother me one bit. In fact, I would probably actually enjoy it more. And I bet you the values would go up. Because the one thing that we tend to see is when Origin product has longevity. So something like when Prism came out in 2012, when Select came out in, well, when did they really start doing it the way they do it now as a better product? What, 2011 or whatever it was, 2010, when they made it a chromium type card. Those first gens have now exploded in value. The 2012 Prism product is now crazy price. Early Select products are very high valued as well. Now imagine that was unlicensed for baseball, and all of a sudden 2012 Mike Trout Prism went from $150 raw to now being a $500, $800, $1,000+ card, because hey, this was the era that they didn't have licensing rights, and so they were printing this without logos. Now they have all that, and it becomes even more sought after. All because Fanatics pulled the trigger on offering the leagues a literal shit ton of money. And whether or not the rumors are true that Fanatics tried to buy Topps within the last year and Topps said no, I don't know the legitimacy to that. I don't. Again, I don't work for Topps. I don't work for Fanatics. And I try not to listen to the rumor mill. I try to stick with facts. I try to stick with what's been publicized. And if it hasn't been publicized, I try not to spread that around, because I don't like spreading rumors. But if I do have a good source on something, yes, I'm gonna discuss that. So, thinking about Fanatics, I hope you guys aren't writing it off. I hope you guys are going to keep an open mind for it, because there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of good that can come from it. So try not to jump all over the disclosure of the deal so far, because again, I fully believe that we know nothing yet. We just know that Fanatics has the rights. We don't know anything about anything else. So let's temper the firestorm going on about it and wait for more information to come. Now, if Fanatics does try to just manufacture all this themselves, yes, get the pitchforks out. I'll be one of the first people to be like, hey, this ain't cool. This ain't cool. I'm not on board with that. But let's keep a level head. Let's wait for these announcements to come out, and let's see how this whole thing's going to shake out. Because I think some people who went a little ham on the aggressiveness to start with are going to look really foolish when the rest of the info comes to light. And they're going to look like some caca. All right, so changing gears a little bit in the hobby world. So, hey, I hope you guys all saw K-Dub's video. That was actually kind of cool. I've never taken part in any of that stuff. I always try to keep myself fairly low key when it comes to promoting myself, which is probably part of my downfall for growth, is that I'm not braggadocious. I'm not out in people's faces. I'm not, involving myself and putting myself into all these things, which, that's just not my personality. I'm always one of those people that I just let people gravitate towards me. And so I kind of went out on a limb, and I actually got to thank Taylor for this, because K-Dub went and put out a tweet, something about tag a breaker. And Taylor tagged me, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, after what happened the last time somebody said tag a breaker, I don't know if I want to be a part of this, because every time I ever get a tag a breaker, it seems to be somebody wanting money, or wanting donations of some sort, and too many times the donations are, or the cause is not worthy. And I use that, maybe that's not the right word for it, not worthy, but there's holes in it, we'll call it that. Not trying to call anybody out. And so K-Dub messaged me, and he was like, hey, I'm putting together a video. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. I'm not a picture person. I don't like pictures and whatnot. And obviously I have a show. I'm a breaker. I have no problem talking on stage. I've been on the radio. I've been on TV. I've done plenty of videos, all this kind of stuff, but I don't like pictures of myself. And to be quite honest, I don't like looking at myself, period. I'm the most critical person of myself out of anybody in my life, I guarantee. And so he was like, hey, I'm putting this video together. And so I kind of thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, all right, what do you need? And he's like, just a small clip, a wave, peace sign, deuces, whatever. So begrudgingly, I sent him the little video, and that was a few weeks ago, and so he got it all put together, which he did a fantastic job. He did amazing with that video. It was really cool. And so go check it out. Make sure you go check it out, Mr. K-Dub. And I got a kick out of it. I really did. He's a talented guy for sure. I'm not going to get too deep into that because, like I said, I'm very critical of myself. So, last weekend was the Auburn Card Show, Twin Oaks Card Show at the Auburn Mall in Auburn, Washington. And the first Auburn show since the National. And I, hang on, I'm trying to move my mic a little bit here so it's a little bit closer to me. First Auburn show since the National. I don't want that thing in my face. And again, still was a little concerned about a little bit of burnout, you know, the fallout from the National. Didn't really notice it. Now, I will also say that the mall on Saturday was packed, and it had really nothing to do necessarily with the card show, although there was a good turnout for the card show, but there was apparently a concert going on at the mall, and then some other event going on at the mall, and so there was a lot of mall traffic in general. So it was heavy. Sunday was a little quieter, but it was still pretty consistent. It was good. It was good. Definitely had a lot of people come up to the table and be like, "Hey, so I heard you went to the National. So how was it? Tell me about it all." You know, so it was a lot of fun getting to talk to people. I love going to card shows, not just because of a fiscal gain for me. I love going to the card shows because I get a chance to talk to people. And when I say talk to people, I don't mean talk at them. I get a chance to hear what's going on with them. And I do a lot of talking. Obviously, I have a show on Tuesdays. I'm a breaker on Wednesdays. I post non-stop on Twitter some days. I run my mouth constantly. And I get a lot of people who are constantly asking me questions at card shows. But one of the things that I love to do at a card show is find out what people are hearing, what people are seeing, who they are watching, who they are breaking with, who they are dealing with, who they are buying from. Where are they buying from? Are they eBay shoppers or are they just eBay compers? And so that has been one of my focuses for the last 12 months. Well, let's see here. 10 months since the card show's resurgence after COVID or during COVID. And I wanted to make sure that with reopening my business that I was going to be more in tune with collectors in the new world of collecting that we are in. Because to be quite honest, we're in a different day and age today than we were 16, 18, 24 months ago. And I know a lot of people say the bubble that was created is a bubble based on COVID because people were getting checks and people were getting money and people were cooped up inside and they needed some place to spend their money. That's not accurate. Because in 2019, we had no lockdown. In 2019, none of us really knew what COVID was. Yes, we heard about the first couple of people who got infected in January of 2020, February of 2020, but cards were already on the way up at the end of 2019. And I know this because of certain periodical things that happened with me. My experience is with Luka Doncic. Now, I was never a Luka Doncic collector. And I had never gotten to pull a silver of his in Prism. It's not that I didn't get to. I never did. But I opened a fair amount of 18-19 Prism basketball. Mostly retail, except for a few hobby boxes. At the end of 2019, a buddy of mine messaged me and was like, "Hey, Luka's stuff is going up. His base Prism," this was in November, his base Prism is now going for $35, $40 raw. Oh, all right. Well, I need to send some of these in for grading then, because if I can get a PSA 10, that's $100. That's $15 to grade it. So I dug through my stuff, pulled out some Lukas, sent in some that were potential worthy of gemming. Kept the other ones. I had 2 red, white, and blues, and I had like 4 non that I knew wouldn't even get a 9. This was in November. Stashed the ones that I was keeping raw. December rolls around, and I was digging through some cards, and all of a sudden, shoot, these Luka base prisms are now up at $50, $60, $70. Huh. Okay. And I sold the 4 Luka Prism base rookies at $70 a piece. I literally listed them one after another. They got scooped up at $70 a piece. In one night, I sold 4 of them in less than 15 minutes. One sold, I'd list another. That sold, I'd list another. That sold, I'd list another. That was $70 raw then. 2 months before that, they were $15. 10 to 15. And I remember this because I was at a card show at the Factoria Mall at the beginning of November of 2019. And Johnny from Collector's Corner can corroborate this story. There was a vendor that was there. It was 2 gentlemen that were next to, if you've ever been to the Factoria Mall card show, there's a vendor by the name of Dave Waugh. Very, very nice man. He sells sealed wax. Hobby. Very good guy. Right next to him was 2 gentlemen that had a massive, long display case, jam-packed full of Luka rookies. Optic Prism. And parallels beyond parallels. And they had probably 200 Luka Prism rookie cards at $15 to $20 a piece, I believe it was. It wasn't over 20, I know that, because I remember thinking to myself, that's a ton of Luka rookie cards. This was the beginning of November of 2019. And then they also had a whole row of optic rated rookie Lukas. At it was $5 less, so it must have been 20 for the prisms and 15 for the optics. And then they had all the parallels, all the colors. Johnny from Collector's Corner bought the pink ice Luka prism for, I believe it was $180 or $200. It wasn't more than $200, I know that. I ended up buying a Blue Velocity rated rookie optic Luka for $80. Okay? This was in 2019, in November of 2019, where prices were already doing this, okay? Because that Blue Velocity rated rookie a month prior was $60. Those Luka Prism rookies a month prior were $10. And then in November, they were the prices I just mentioned. And then in December, by the end of December, the base prism was $70 and selling like that. My red, white, and blues I sold for $125 a piece, and I thought I scored getting that price. Okay? So if cards were already at that point, pre-COVID, none of us knew there was going to be any lockdowns. None of us knew there was going to be any threat. None of us knew there was going to be stimulus checks being sent out. None of us knew that we were going to have any lockdowns, that we weren't going to be able to go to sporting events. None of us knew that the basketball season was going to essentially be canceled. None of us knew that the baseball season was going to be cut short. None of us knew that there was going to be a bubble. None of us knew that ECCC was going to get canceled. Conventions around the world were canceled. Sporting events around the world were canceled. None of us knew that in December of 2019 or January of 2020. But yet the sports card market was booming. So no, it was not a bubble created by COVID lockdowns and stimulus checks. It was not, because it already started before that. Now, did COVID, the lockdowns, the stimulus checks, did it compound it later on? Sure. There's no way to separate it. You can't, because it's parallel in our timeline. There's no way you can say for definitively that they're not related to an extent. But the increase in sports card values was not solely because of COVID. Because you can't explain the Luka base Prism rookie card being a $70 card in December of 2019. if you're blaming everything on COVID. So, all of this value increase during COVID, before COVID, all started before COVID. And so, back to what I was talking about to begin with, the Twin Oaks Card Show. We had a great turnout. And this was, again, still, my fear was that we were going to have burnout from the National. And we're not seeing that. We're not seeing COVID lockdowns right now. We're not seeing, well, we're seeing some stimulus checks for people with dependents, but we're not seeing, you know, $1,000 checks, $500 checks going to every American anymore. But yet card values are still up. And here's one thing I've been saying for years about this. All it takes is somebody hitting a big card, and all of a sudden they have more expendable money. Because then they'll sell that card and potentially buy some other things. Well, maybe they gamble on somebody else and then their values go up. Here's the thing, though. If anybody that was collecting cards pre-2019 saw a value increase. Patrick Mahomes' Prism rookie card was a $5 card in 2017 and 2018. I sold multiple Prism rookie cards of Patrick Mahomes for $15 at the end of 2018. Okay? $15 a piece. What's that going for now? 1,000 plus? No, it does not make my stomach sick because, to be quite honest, I never expected a base Prism rookie card to be valuable. Not to that level anyways. To me, valuable was $10, $15. Sure, yeah, I should have graded them. I don't recall how they were. I don't remember if they were in good shape enough to grade. But maybe I should have. I could have maybe had a 10 and I could have sold them for $150 instead of $15. I don't know. But those values exploded before COVID hit as well. Patrick Mahomes' PSA 10 Prism rookie card in 2019 was selling for around $350. That was still an exponential gain based off of the 2018 price. So, long roundabout story. There's no national hangover. Listening to people talk, there's people that are excited. I'm hearing talks of people that are going down to the Collectors Summit in Vegas in three weeks. I'm going. And I'm hearing collectors that are going, that they want to go. And I did not expect that because I was expecting this to more be businesses and influencers and whatnot, more networking, that kind of stuff. And I'm hearing about collectors going. Now, granted, yes, there's a card show attached to it for 2 days beforehand. But I did not expect people to go down to the summit that are just there as a collector. At least to this level. I'm hearing a lot of people that are going to be there. And that's pretty awesome. We have card shows or card shops opening up around the country in 2021. 5 years ago, if you had said you were going to open a card shop, 99% of people would have laughed at you. There's no money in it. You're going to struggle. You can't sustain. How are you going to keep it open? You're expecting cards to pay your bills? You're insane. I'm seeing card shops doing amazing now. I'm seeing people talking about their books openly. Paying off their leases early. We're seeing a card shop opening up in California here in the next couple months. Texas in a couple months. Miami, Florida opening up here any day. And these are big names. Loop. Roadshow. We just saw Ryan, Card Collector 2, out in Ohio. He just moved into a new building. Flourish. And it's not COVID related. You can't tell me otherwise. Not with what we saw in 2019. It was headed that way regardless. We have more people getting into it. Yes. Now, did COVID potentially play a role in getting more people involved because they had nothing else to spend their money on? Sure. I have no doubt. But trust me, when COVID settles way down and we get back to some semblance of normalcy, cards aren't going away. David Miller just asked, how are you doing selling raw cards? It seems to be getting more difficult to sell raw because everyone is grading every damn thing. Lately, not a problem. During the, I would probably say in 2020, fourth quarter of 2020, first quarter of 21, it was harder because everybody was grading everything then. Now, not so much, because we have the shutdowns going on right now, and the minimum price to pay PSA is $200 to grade a card. So you're not seeing base rookie cards getting graded unless they're sending them to SGC, HGA, CSG, which I don't buy those anyways. I don't care. I don't put any stock in that right now. Now, am I potentially being foolish? Sure. But it's not a gamble I'm willing to take on my business funds. So, right now, I'm not seeing a problem with selling raw cards. I sell raw cards all the time. Before last year, before PSA shutdown, I really didn't like selling raw cards because everybody was trying to inspect every little thing about it. I told you guys last week on the show that I've opened back up selling on eBay after talking to a salesperson, talking to a representative, and then also talking to somebody at the National. I've opened it up a little bit, and I've sold more raw cards on eBay than I've sold graded cards. And so far, I have not had any returns. I have not had any claims. Now, we just saw an injury to Travis Etienne, so I'm curious if that is going to spur some returns to people, and we're going to now end up with another situation like we did last year. I don't know how heavily people were collecting Etienne, though, because you had Trevor Lawrence, but you have a lot of people who were getting Etienne cards in the chase for Trevor Lawrence. So I don't know what that's going to do to his value, this injury, where he's going to miss the entire rookie season, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I have sold more raw than graded in the last 90 days since I opened back up selling on eBay. And I'll give you a quick number, a quick figure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. My last 25 sales were all raw. All on eBay. We're not even talking card show. I'm just talking about eBay. My last 25 sales were all raw. David says again, I'm seeing a ton of like flawless RPAs and thick cards getting graded, and that was always a big no-no back in the day. Don't grade thick cards or basic base. Yes, that was a no-no back in the day. I tend to stick away from that. I tend to steer away from grading thick cards. Immaculates, flawless, national treasures, tend to. Now, occasionally I've hit a card where I'm like, no, this needs to go because this, the corners, all 8 corners were good. All 8 edges were good. Surface was good. Yeah. But you're seeing more and more people do it because of the stock that people put in those big names, flawless, NT, immaculate, all that kind of stuff. And to be quite honest, the pop reports are fairly low because there's only 99 of each card. That's the first part. At most, 99. But also, it's very tough to gem. So, an 8.5 still tends to sell well. You look at a National Treasures or a flawless Patrick Mahomes rookie from 2017, And an 8.5 is still going to go for 100K. And that's going to beat the raw price. And that's because the pops on the 9s, the 9.5s, and the 10s are so low. An 8.5 does hold merit. And that's what everybody's gambling on right now, is the next Patrick Mahomes. Who's going to be it? Let's grade a National Treasures Justin Herbert, even if it's only going to get an 8 or an 8.5. Let's do it, because it's in a slab, it's protected, and it's going to hold value down the road, because people are anticipating he's the next Patrick Mahomes-esque value player. Now, again, am I going to put my stock in that? Probably not. But I'm also not putting my hands on Flawless and National Treasures Justin Herbert's. Now, if people want to do that with Jordan Love, or who's another cheaper guy you could get, Eason right now, who may potentially get some field time this year, or see a better, see another team in a year or so when Carson Wentz isn't going to give up the mantle. So if people are going to take that chance, because you can probably pick up an Eason RPA for National Treasures for what, $150. You can pick up a Jordan Love for a couple grand, whereas the Herbert is $50 grand. So I'm still moving a fair amount of raw, and that's because of the shutdowns at PSA and Beckett right now. So I would say that that's not an issue right now. Now, when everything opens back up fully, if it ever does, but if they start opening up the lower tier pricing, yeah, then I could see we have a bit of a problem. But I think if they do it right, I don't think we'll have a problem. If they do it slowly and cap it so people can't just flood them with millions of cards in a week, I think we could see the ability to sell raw without people getting too overly stingy about, a print defect, or, a soft corner that was clearly in the picture, but that now they see it and it won't gem, that kind of stuff. Trust me. Back last year when I cut off eBay, I was getting returns for some of the dumbest stuff. And it was frustrating because it clearly defined in the pictures. And they'd get it and be like, wow, it's not going to gem. Yeah, no crap. I said it right in the picture. It's near mint. Not gem, near mint. Well, I want to return it. Yeah, tough. I don't care. So, I'm a little bit of a dick like that, but when I clearly state something and somebody then questions it after they've bought and paid and gotten the product, yeah, I'm a little bit of a dick about it, because I clearly stated. So, but, so back to, kind of got sidetracked there. Back to card shows. We had the Twin Oaks card show this last weekend. Upcoming this weekend, we go back to Mall 205 in Portland. Now, I will say, if anybody's planning on going to that show, mask mandate in Oregon is back in full effect. So, kind of sad to hear that we're going back that way in most states. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Let's do what we can. I want to beat COVID too. I want to get past this. But if we got to mask up for a little bit longer, so be it. So, to be at that show as a vendor or a customer, you must be wearing a mask in Oregon. That being said, Saturday and Sunday, we will only be there Saturday, though. We're just going to go down for the day, one table. Just cards, very few pops, only going to bring some sports pops with. But we will be there. The following weekend is our off weekend. And then the weekend of the 11th and 12th is the Auburn card show again, that has now been moved to the beginning of every month. But I will not be there this next month. September, I will not be at the Auburn card show. I want to make that very clear to everybody if you're planning on going. Don't look for me because I won't be there. I will be at the Summit in Vegas that weekend. So I signed up for it. I didn't know the card show was going to be the same weekend. It's unfortunate. Nothing we could do about it. So I will. That'll be the first Auburn show I've missed in this new cycle. So I will be at the Summit card show Saturday, the 11th. We're flying in Friday night, and then I will be golfing at the Summit on Sunday, and then the Summit is actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I signed up idiotically for the golf tournament without realizing it. So now I have to get some game. I went out yesterday, swung some clubs, And I suck, but I don't suck as bad as I thought I was going to suck. And if anybody out there has a hookup with manufacturers such as Ping or Callaway or anybody, hook me up. I would love some new clubs. Right now I'm using some Pings, and they're customs, but they're not customs for me. A buddy of mine locally is a tall gentleman, and he hooked me up with his old set that he's had for 15 plus years, and they're in good shape, but they're 2-inch extensions on them, and he's a few inches shorter than me, so they're still a little short for me. So if anybody has any hookups with, I don't even know all the manufacturers, Ping, Callaway, whoever else is at TaylorMade, whoever else is out there, yeah, I would love to get some. I will video me slaughtering the crap out of the ground before I hit the ball. But yeah, I'll do some advertisements, do some promotional work, and yeah, I'm gonna be at that tournament. I gotta bring my clubs down, and I'm probably gonna get laughed out of the tournament. I think it's a tournament. I don't know. Golfing that day. All I know is I paid for it, and I accidentally signed up for it. So that is the next couple weeks of card shows. What's up, Taylor? Which is the highest end clubs? Because I don't know. The only names that I know are the ones that I rattled off, and that's just because I see them on commercials and stuff. I have zero clue about golf clubs and who makes what, who's the high-end brands, or anything. I know nothing about it. The only reason I know anything about Callaway was because I had Callaway sunglasses for a little while that I got from a golf tournament, and I've had some Callaway golf balls. I was actually golfing with one yesterday that was in a refurb bag that I bought about a year ago, and there was a Callaway ball in there. Outside of that, not sure if I've ever dealt with them before. The golf clubs I have are Ping, but again, they're like 15 plus years old. Don't know anything about Ping. Heard they're pretty solid. TaylorMade, I see their stuff on commercials. That's the only reason I know anything about them. Couldn't tell you who's the high end. Couldn't tell you anything else. So, but hey, if those are the 3 top brands, apparently I have good taste. Because it's the only ones that I know. I don't know anything else. Like I said, I've never really golfed before. Got my clubs a little over a year ago. Driving range a couple dozen times. Been out golfing. Yesterday was my 3rd time ever on a golf course actually golfing. So, but I did have on a par 4, I had an actual par, and I did not have to take a single drop. I had a good drive, and I had a good next 2 shots, and then I putted in. 1 putt. I was pretty happy. Pretty proud of myself. And then completely shat the bed the next 6 holes. Dunlap irons? Yeah. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. I don't know anything about any of that. So, like I said, just getting into it. And I'm not really even getting into it yet. I'm just dipping the toe in the water. Just dipping the toe in the water. So, moving on now to card releases. Last Friday we had Elements Football come out. We've got a break of that on the website going live tomorrow. Topps Chrome Baseball came out this last Friday as well. Got 2 breaks of that on the website as well. Certified Football releases tomorrow. We have a break of that I posted on the website tonight. A 2 hobby box PYT. Go get your teams. We also have Topps Baseball Pro Debut that comes out tomorrow as well. So that's going to be releasing. I don't have any breaks of that going on, but I know it's coming out. One announcement, if you did not see my tweet earlier today, Optic Basketball was scheduled for release next week. Correction, it was scheduled for release this Friday. Got pushed back. It's not coming out until middle of next month now. Again, pushed back. So, do not be expecting Optic Basketball breaks next week. Do not be expecting Optic Basketball boxes at hobby shops next week. It has been pushed back to, I'll give you the exact date, The 17th. September 17th. So don't go looking for it next week. You will not find it. Don't go looking for it this Friday. You won't find it. It is not going to be on shelves this month. The 17th of September, Optic Basketball. What is coming out next week is Donruss Optic Baseball and Topps 5-Star Baseball, both coming out next Wednesday. On Friday of next week, WNBA Prism for the second year coming out. And then in the meantime, we're also going to see Leaf Trinity Football coming out, supposedly on the 3rd. And then we're also going to see Panini Black Football dropping on the 3rd. And then we're going to have almost 2 weeks of no releases. And that is because of the summit that is going on in Vegas. They're not going to drop anything during the summit or the week leading up to, because so many vendors will be out of town at the summit. They didn't want to do it because at the National, several people complained because their products got shipped to their warehouses back home, so they couldn't have any select basketball on the floor at the summit to compete against Blowout and Steel City and DA, some of those big guys who were able to get theirs miraculously at the National. Wonder how that works. On release day, theirs was shipped to them at the National. Now, did they have it set up ahead of time to do that? Sure. Maybe that's just their logistics that they had done, but yeah, so they had it on release day at the National. So it looks like in order to have everybody on a level playing field, Panini at least, and Topps, it looks like, have stopped anything releasing until the 17th. Josh, just get them reshafted. It will be easier than finding 4-inch overs. Sure. I'll take your word for it. I have no clue. I just figured that if one of the golf club manufacturers happen to catch my tweet or hear me say, hey, I'm doing a golf tournament promotional sports stuff hub, hook me up. They'd hook me up, but they won't. I know they won't. I don't have that much pull. I don't have that much influence to sway people into using somebody's golf clubs right now. Maybe down the road. Yes, David, the summit is in Vegas. It is the summit is actually the 12th, 13th, and the 13th, 14th, and 15th. The golf tournament for the summit the golf outing is the Sunday the 12th. The card show that they've added on to the summit this year is Friday and Saturday the 10th and 11th. So that was all the products that we're going to be seeing released in the next couple weeks. Okay, so I see now it's now 10 after 7 already, and we haven't talked actual sports at all. Well, there you go, David. It's only 4 hours from you. Week 2 of the preseason just wrapped up, and we learned a little bit. I believe we learned a little bit. Do you believe we learned a little bit? I believe we learned a little bit. Now, what I believe we learned is, number one, that Justin Fields is still a good quarterback, even though he didn't have to do anything. But I believe that we learned that Mitch Trubisky can actually play football. Yes, I said that. Mitch Trubisky went out and laid a beatdown on his former Chicago team. That's one thing I learned, is that Mitch Trubisky can actually game. And what I said to begin with, that the problems that Mitch Trubisky was having in Chicago were the coaching staff and had nothing to do with Mitch Trubisky. So, Mitch Trubisky came out with the Bills' second team and laid a beatdown against the Bears' second team defense. Yep, that happened. What else did we learn? Well, we learned that Zach Wilson's actually a pretty smooth quarterback. He's not bad. He's polished. Didn't seem to be rattled at all. Moved well in the pocket. Delivered some balls. And he doesn't seem phased being in the biggest media market in the country. At all. I said it myself. I didn't think he'd be able to handle New York. Now, granted, this is still preseason. And the Jets haven't even played a regular season game. We'll see how he handles the lights when it comes to actually playing in the regular season, whether it's a primetime game, or they're on a winning streak, or a losing skid. We'll see how he handles it then. But he looked poised. He looked solid. He looked good. He looked like he can handle it. Let's see if he can continue to handle it in New York. What else did we learn? We learned that Baltimore is a good preseason team. 20 plus preseason victories in a row now. Why are we counting this? What does it matter? Just the fact that people are bringing this stat up just baffles me. What does it matter if they've won 20 straight preseason games? There's no award for preseason. There's no championship for preseason. There's no draft pick process for preseason. It's frickin' preseason. So, a fair amount of teams literally throw preseason games so they don't have to expose their playbooks. So that there's no game film on them. So that nobody knows what their offense is going to look like when the regular season hits. And here people are lauding Baltimore for winning 20 straight preseason games. What the hell does it matter? Give me a frickin' break, people. I don't care if they could win. They could win. You know what? Hey, let them win the next 10 years of preseason games. I don't care. I don't give a crap. Hand them the next. You know what? Let's call it right now. Let's just award Baltimore the next 10 seasons worth of all their preseason games. Today. Go ahead. Crown them now. I don't care. Are they going to go to the AFC Championship game, or are they going to go to the Super Bowl? Doesn't matter. What's the record going to be like in the regular season? What does it matter what they did in preseason? Don't give me that preseason crap. Honestly, even if the Steelers lose, I don't care in preseason. I could give a crap. Do I want to see how certain players respond to certain pressure? Do I want to see how, certain players are developing? Do I want to see how certain things are being handled? Yeah. But I don't care if my team wins a preseason game. Steelers could go 0-4. I don't care. How did Ben do on his 3 drives that he got? How did Najee Harris look catching the ball out of the backfield? Was he able to pick up a blitz? Was he able to sneak through the line? Was he able to follow his lead blocker? Did Deontay catch the ball? Did James Washington get a few reps with the first team? Did Chase Claypool look like he is still mobile? Does he look like his physicality is up? Is Juju running underneath routes solid? Can he still catch a slant and go? I mean, that's the stuff that I want to know. Is Minkah Fitzpatrick still able to cover? Can TJ Watt rush the passer still? How's Alex Highsmith doing across from TJ Watt? Hey, by the way, did Melvin Ingram get to play? That's the stuff I want to know. I don't care if they win the game. How does Ben's arm look in the 3 series that he got to play? That's what I care about. Oh, let's see here. I'm starting to think I might have to make a trip up to have you been to Baltimore? That's all kind of... Yeah. Josh just said, have you been to Baltimore? That's kind of all they have. Makes sense. But anyway, so Baltimore. Anyway, moving on. Miami, Tua looked solid. So I want to see Tua successful. I want to see all quarterbacks successful, by the way. There's very few quarterbacks that come into the league that I'm like, nah, I hate that guy. Or I don't like that. I don't want to see him be successful. I want to see players successful. I really do. Individual players successful, yes. Maybe not so much on the team success, but the players I want to see successful. Tua, I'd like to see successful. I think he's got a great skill set, and I think he could be a dynamic playmaker in this league. So he looked good. He's looking confident. He's making decisions. He's throwing the ball with some accuracy. He's getting the ball into tight windows. He's mobile. He's looking solid. I think Miami might have something this year. So who knows? Maybe it's just a facade on preseason with Tua. We'll know more in a few weeks. But I'm confident. I'm gaining confidence in Tua's ability. And I'd like to see him be successful. Tennessee, Tampa Bay, I don't really have much to talk about because it was pretty much all backups. Pittsburgh, Detroit, again, what I was just mentioning. Ben came out, led 3 scoring drives, and I was happy. His utilization of the offense looked good. He moved around quite well. He got some pressure put on him, and he was able to scramble away. He looked more mobile than he did the last 3 seasons. Yeah, he shed some pounds, but it doesn't look like it's like affecting his ability to take a hit because he has taken some hits already, now. But he threw some strikes, tight windows to Pat Freiermuth, the new rookie tight end for the Steelers, who has some hands. That boy can catch. I'm excited to see that connection now. Deontay had a nice catch. Didn't really see much utilization of anybody else. I missed most of it, so I was kind of living off of watching the replay, all access stuff. But defense looked solid. The starters that did played well. Detroit's 20 points they put up all came towards the end anyways, so it was pretty solid. Indy, Ellinger looked like he took some massive steps back from his first game. Kind of disappointing. I was kind of hoping him and Eason were really going to stick it neck to neck. Eason still even looked more human this week. What was the game I wanted to talk about? No, it wasn't Denver-Seattle either. Oh, yeah, duh. So I was looking at that too. New Orleans-Jacksonville. Well, actually, before we get there, I'm going to have a little homer moment for a second. San Francisco versus LA Chargers. NDSU quarterback versus NDSU quarterback. Easton Stick versus Trey Lance. And Trey Lance walks away with the victory, 15-10. Trey Lance looked good. Still some things to work on, absolutely. Easton Stick looked good. And I'm a big Easton Stick fan as well. Everybody that knows me knows that I love Easton Stick, and I've been rooting for him to get a starting quarterback gig somewhere. And to be all honest, that if the Chargers hadn't drafted Justin Herbert, Easton Stick would be the starter today. Now, do I blame the Chargers? No. Because the draft spot that they had with Herbert sitting on the board was a no-brainer. You take Justin Herbert. And he's really good. He's really good. Now, what I would like to see, because Easton Stick is entering his 3rd season, is I would like to see the Chargers trade him after he's proven for a 3rd straight preseason that he's a dynamic playmaker who can move, is very mobile in the pocket, and can throw. I would love to see the Steelers trade for him. Trade Mason Rudolph or trade Dwayne Haskins plus a draft pick for Easton Stick. Easton will beat out anybody on that roster aside from Ben. If Ben retires after this season, they need to go after Easton Stick. Easton Stick can run that offense. Easton Stick could be the future of the Steelers. I would love to see that. A couple comments. David Miller, Winston and Callaway might be a dynamic duo. We're about to talk about that in a moment. Josh, with all the quarterback talent lately, how long before it's not the number 1 position drafted? Like every team has a solid starting quarterback. Okay, Josh, this was actually something, and I don't I don't know if you were watching the show earlier in the year, back in like January. I was talking about this during the playoffs, the quarterback saturation point. How many quarterbacks we were having in the NFL that were going to be moving to new teams this year. The most we ever saw was 1999. We saw 20 quarterbacks change teams. And we're talking starting quarterbacks. It was the most quarterbacks we'd ever seen in NFL history on a new team the following season. And I was talking about that at the time, I didn't believe we were going to have 5 first-round quarterbacks this year. This was pre-draft, obviously, because of the quarterback saturation point. And I actually had a list at the time. I came up with how many quarterbacks were potentially changing teams. And it was a long list. And how many of them could potentially be given an opportunity to start, which was also another long list. So I think we're still going to see first-round draft picks for quarterbacks. You know, how many times have we gone without a first-round draft pick, a first-round quarterback? Trying to think of the last time we had. 2014, we had 3. 2013, we had 2. 2012, we had 3. 2011, Cam. No, 2011 was... yeah, that was Cam. And 2010 was Sam Bradford. So we're going to see quarterbacks always go in the first round, I think. Because there's always going to be a team that's going to look at their aging quarterback. Because for the next few years, we have quarterbacks who are starting to get long in the tooth. Is Kyle Trask the heir apparent to Tom Brady? We don't know yet. Is Jordan Love the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers? We don't know yet. Is Matt Ryan... How long is Matt Ryan going to be with the Falcons? Ben, what happens with the Steelers? There's so many questions as to who's going to fill in when X player is gone in the next year or so. Washington still doesn't have a true solution at quarterback because they can't even run on Ryan Fitzpatrick because Ryan Fitzpatrick is getting to the point where he's nearing retirement age because he was a 2006 draft pick. So I think we're always going to see that turnover because we're also going to see people retire early. We're going to see people that get injured. We're going to see first-round draft picks for quarterbacks continue to, maybe we won't see it in volume like we did this year. I know we won't. If we see 2 next year, then that's pretty solid for where it's been historically. If we have 5 again go this year, I'd be shocked. And I say that now, tongue-in-cheek, knowing that I said that in January, and they proved me wrong. Again, I didn't expect 5 quarterbacks to go in May of 21, but they did it. And I personally believe that we have more starting quarterback quality quarterbacks right now in the NFL than teams. Obviously, Chicago signed Andy Dalton with the intention of him being the starting quarterback and then got Justin Fields. So there's at least one other team in the NFL that thinks Andy Dalton has still got a couple years left of starting quarterback play. You have 2 quarterbacks right now in Denver that Denver is trying to decide. You have Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Well, whichever one doesn't get the starting nod could potentially be a starter somewhere else. You have Marcus Mariota, who looked really good backing up Derek Carr in Vegas. And when Mariota came in when Carr got hurt, looked really damn good. So you have that option as well. But then you also have some of the backups. You have Carson Wentz in Indy backed up by Jacob Eason, and everybody thinks Jacob Eason could be a starting quarterback. You have Kellen Mond sitting there with Kirk Cousins. Kellen Mond could potentially be the takeover, and then Kirk Cousins gets a gig somewhere else. So there's a lot of potential moves still this year. I mean, what happens with Matt Ryan? Does Matt Ryan stay in Atlanta? Does he play well this year in order to gain the confidence of his new head coach and offensive coordinator? Or do they cut ties with him after this year, after one less year that they're going to have to pay that monstrosity of a contract? Does Jameis Winston stay the quarterback in New Orleans, provided they actually announce in the quarterback. There's so much that is potentially changing, but so much that could just get locked down completely with who they've got on the roster. So, because in New Orleans, technically you have 3 quarterbacks that could be the starting quarterback in 2022. You have Jameis Winston, you have Taysom Hill, and you have Ian Book. I think you could run down the list of almost every single team outside of the Jets, the Panthers, the Rams, and the Lions. Maybe there's another team or two that doesn't have a second option, legitimate option behind their starting quarterback. Washington, so 5. I mean, Tua's got a backup. Deshaun Watson has a backup. Their backups have both been starters in the NFL, or at least had starts in the NFL. You know, between Jacoby Brissett and Tyrod Taylor. Josh Allen, you got Mitch Trubisky behind him. And if they're a veteran, they've got a solid or a high profile, high expectation rookie behind him. Brady, Trask, Cousins, Mond, Wentz, Eason. Seahawks do need a backup, absolutely, because all it is Russ is one bad shot from going down, and all of a sudden the Seahawks have a top 5 draft pick. Reality-wise, I mean, this is no knock on the Seahawks, because no matter who they have on their roster right now as a quarterback, the roster they have now is that quarterback's not winning 8 games. It's not. Just not winning 8 games. That team needs a Russell Wilson to function as they are currently, because that offense is actually a mess outside of Russell Wilson, because that offensive line can't block for a pocket passer. They're not built to block for a pocket passer. They're built to block for Russell Wilson. So yeah, if you don't have Russell Wilson under center, that's a 4-win team. And that's probably being gracious at 4 wins, because that would be the defense winning 4 games. So yes, 100% believe the Seahawks need a backup to Russell Wilson, but they not just need a backup, they need a mobile backup for Russell Wilson. They need one thing that I thought that they should have done after last season was try to sign RG3. Not saying that RG3 is a Russell Wilson, but RG3 came in and was at least serviceable backing up Lamar Jackson when Lamar Jackson got hurt. And I'm not saying that RG3 can come in and win a playoff game or win the Super Bowl for the Seahawks, but RG3 at least had the mobility enough to be able to run a similar style offense that Russell Wilson relies on, and that would have been a solid place for him to go. But instead, I guess he's an analyst now. I don't know. I haven't looked into Russell Wilson's contract to see if there's clauses that get him out, because I believe he's on a no trade clause. I know that. So they can't just trade him. And if he gets hurt, they can't. I mean, if they cut him, that the salary cap damage would be astronomical. That would screw the team over for 5 years, 4 years, whatever's left on his contract. That would gut them. So I don't know if necessarily they would opt to get rid of him. What I think they might, if they wanted to move on from Russell Wilson, they would want to make the team unbearable for him. Pit the defense against him. Not give him any weapons. Keep the O-line in shambles. not upgrade the run game. You see where I'm going with this? It's kind of already been there, and they kind of already did that with him once, and he ended up making it through it because the defense was pitted against him for a little while. He didn't have any true weapons. The run game, they went and drafted a guy in the first round that most teams had projected to be a third rounder for a running back. They've struggled with upgrading his offensive line to keep him in the pocket. So there's times where it's like I watch the moves they make, and from outsider perspective, because I'm not a Seahawks fan, there's times that I watch the moves that the team makes, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? That's not helping your offense. That's not helping Russell Wilson. And then other times I'm watching their moves they make, and I'm like, wow, they're kind of doing right by him. The DK Metcalf selection, I was like, wow, they actually got a playmaker for him. Okay, him and Tyler Lockett, they're going to make a good duo. The Rashad Penny selection, what? What? First round? What? When they drafted Rashad Penny, and this is no offense to Rashad Penny, but when they drafted Rashad Penny in the first round, I was like, that's what you went with? You had holes elsewhere, and that's who you went with? Blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. And I know a lot of people love him and think the world of him. My buddy Dean. You guys know Dean. Dean wanted Rashad Penny on the Seahawks to begin with. I thought he could have gone in the third round of the Seahawks still. I thought maybe even second round at highest. Nobody was going to take him in the second round. And he hasn't panned out. Correct, Dave. This year, it seems like they have tried to please him a little bit more. We'll see how that pans out during the season, though, because like I said, we're not going to know how this works until the season actually rolls around. Yeah, it sounds like they're going to re-sign Luke Wilson, yeah. I have no doubt in my mind, David, but he's also had health injuries or health problems, and he struggled to stay on the field. They don't give him the snaps. They don't utilize him properly. He's not built to be in the offense that they're running, and they don't have an offensive line to block for him properly. And he's more of a Darren Sproles-esque type of player, which they haven't been utilizing him in that capacity. He could have been very good, but he's not for being a first-round draft pick, you want a guy to be a three-down back. Rashad Penny's not a three-down back. He's an RBBC. He's a third-down back. He's a catch out of the backfield. He's a swing guy. He's not a Najee Harris. He's not a Saquon Barkley. He's not an Ezekiel Elliott. He's not a Christian McCaffrey. He's not an Alvin Kamara. and that's like I said, I would put him more in a Sproles type of role and keep him healthier. And that's the problem. Yes, he's utilized properly when he's healthy, but that's the problem. When you put him in bad situations, that's when he gets hurt because he's not durable. He's not a durable back. He's not a three-down back. And that's been part of the problem is when you use a guy the wrong way and you overuse them or you use them in a way that their body's not built to handle the types of hits they're taking, they get hurt. Or when you overuse a guy that can't handle 350 touches in a season, they get hurt. Le'Veon Bell could not handle 350 touches in a season. He kept getting hurt at the end of the season. Now, yeah, there were some freak injuries, but what happens when a player gets worn down is they start running sloppier. They're stepping differently. They're cutting differently. They're planting differently. And when they get hit in those positions, because earlier in the season, when they're running harder and they're stronger and they're taking their jab steps a certain way and they're doing it how their body has been trained to do it, they're doing it efficiently. Like Aaron Rodgers always says, the reason why he's never really had any leg injuries is because of the way he throws, the way he plants, the way he avoids when the contact is coming. He avoids a certain way of how he's stepping. Well, when a player gets worn down, they tend to get sloppy. And so if you have a guy who's not built to be a 3-down back and you're using him in that type of situation, or you have a guy who's not used to catching passes out of the backfield or picking up blitzers, they'll tend to get hurt in those situations because their body's not built to handle that. David does not like the Luke Wilson signing. And we can debate that another time. We got to keep going here. I got to get into the Jacksonville-New Orleans game. Excuse me. David brought up a point earlier that I was going to get into. The the Winston to Callaway connection. Jameis Winston's looking good. I tweeted about this. I believe Jameis Winston has earned the starting nod. He's the only quarterback on that offense that's moving the ball consistently. He's comfortable. He's gotten the eye surgery that he had after he left Tampa Bay. He's throwing the ball accurately. He's got some deep ball presence to him. He's not afraid to throw the ball. And he's done well in the preseason. He did well last season when he got an opportunity to prove it. So, give Jameis Winston the ball. Give Jameis Winston the keys to the offense. And Callaway looked fantastic. That kid is special. And I think he could pair very well with Jameis Winston in that offense, especially if Michael Thomas is going to miss any time. But even still, when Thomas comes back, Callaway could be a fantastic pair for that. Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Needed to wet my whistle before we get into this one. I'm on record saying I don't believe in Urban Meyer. I'm on record saying that I believe he's in over his head. And I am not changing that. I believe that 100%. I do not believe Urban Meyer can lead an NFL team. I do not believe that Urban Meyer can build an NFL team. And I do not believe Urban Meyer can win with an NFL team. That being said, Trevor Lawrence is gifted. Trevor Lawrence is talented. Trevor Lawrence is special. Trevor Lawrence works hard. Trevor Lawrence is a very, very, very good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is going to get destroyed in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence's career is going to end early if Jacksonville does not fix their problems. It is preseason, and he's getting annihilated. He is taking too many hits in preseason. The offense is in shambles. He's had to pull gadget plays. Not even gadget plays. He's had to make up plays on the run and improvise in order to move the ball in preseason, because they don't have a way to block for him. Jacksonville is going to have the worst offensive line in football this year, bar none. And that says a lot, given how bad Cincinnati was last year. When you can't throw the ball, I said this earlier today. Laviska Shenault was on my high list of second-year wide receivers that I thought were going to see a massive bump in their value and production in 2021. I don't believe that anymore. Not because of Laviska. Not because of his ability. Not because of Trevor Lawrence's ability. Because the offense is atrocious. Last season, I pulled these stats up. Last season, Joe Burrow was the fastest quarterback to get hit in the NFL. 2.3 seconds from the time of snap to first contact on average. He was the fastest to get hit quarterback on average in the NFL. 2.3 seconds from snap to contact. Russell Wilson was the second most sacked quarterback in the NFL in 2020. 50-plus sacks he took last year. Snap to contact for Russell Wilson was 2.9 seconds. That is 0.6 seconds different. Okay? 0.6 seconds different is the difference between your receiver making a break on his route and getting separation and a receiver still looking upfield. 0.6 seconds. Because the difference from Russell Wilson at 2.9 to the next three quarterbacks that were hit the most last year was 0.2 seconds at most. 2.9 for Russell Wilson, up to 3.1 for and above for everybody else. Okay? So even Russell Wilson's numbers could improve if they had a little bit better blocking scheme for him. But Joe Burrow got annihilated and destroyed his ACL last year. And we don't know for sure yet if Joe Burrow is going to come back fully healthy and is going to be mobile enough to handle it. And we don't know how good Cincinnati's offensive line is going to be. In the preseason, they have not looked good. Their quarterbacks have been getting crushed in the preseason. And I personally believe that Joe Burrow is going to have his death wish signed. Everybody was saying Jamar Chase. They need Jamar Chase because he's going to get separation. You can't get separation in 2.3 seconds unless every route you run is a hot route. Hey, Seahawk fans, how does hot route work when the defense knows it's coming? I seem to recall a Super Bowl on the 1 yard line with a hot route. And this was not a dig at Seahawk fans. This is you know what I'm talking about. And you can't run Jamar Chase on a hot route constantly. Because it will get jumped. It will get picked. If you're only giving your quarterback 2.3 seconds, even if he gets 2.5 seconds this year, he's still going to get obliterated. So I'm seeing the same thing happening with the Jaguars right now. Now, is Trevor Lawrence mobile? Yes. Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow are similar style quarterbacks. They're mobile enough to get themselves out of significant trouble to get themselves into just a little bit less trouble. Because in this preseason, I've watched, 10 sacks now of Trevor Lawrence? He got sacked, I want to say it was 5 times in that first preseason game. Unless they just showed the replay in multiple angles. But he's been getting hit a lot. Too much for your number 1 overall quarterback. Too much. So, I can't wait for the first few weeks of this season if Trevor Lawrence is the starter. So I can dig into these stats and find out from snap to contact what Trevor Lawrence is getting hit rate at. What Joe Burrow's getting hit at. Because if Trevor Lawrence is getting hit in less than 2.5 seconds, if he's getting hit in less than 2.9 seconds, which was what Russell Wilson was at, if he's getting hit in less time than Russell Wilson in 2020, Laviska Shenault can't catch the ball. Because he's going to be getting hit. When you get hit when you're throwing, you end up throwing ducks. That's picks. That's pick waiting to happen. Quarterbacks get hit while they're throwing, ball pops in the air. Defense picks it off. So, if they don't have a solution for that, they're screwed. Now, to compound the problem even further, the second of their first-round draft picks, Travis Etienne, goes down with a Lisfranc injury today and has to go in for surgery. And if you're unfamiliar with how the IR system works in the offseason, right now the NFL's in an 80-man roster. Today was the deadline to get down to 80 persons. So it was 90 up until last week. They've dropped down 5. Now they have to cut 5 more to get to 80 today. The 53-man roster is due by next Tuesday. Okay? Injury reserve works this way in the NFL. If you make the 53-man roster and you get put on IR this year, you're eligible to come back. Okay? You're eligible to come back. That was part of the terms with last year with COVID and all this kind of stuff because they had to put people on IR. This year, now people can come back designated early return from IR. Travis Etienne has not made the 53-man roster yet before they put him on IR. The fact they put him on IR today means he did not make the 53-man roster, ending his rookie season. Travis Etienne just lost his entire rookie season. He is not going to see the field at all. He's ineligible to return this season. I feel bad for the kid. Lisfranc surgery is not easy to come back from, especially for running back. It's 8 weeks in a boot, and then it's probably going to be another 12 weeks for, 24 weeks for rehab. But either way, he's not coming back this year. So, another damning thing to happen to the Jaguars. The running back that everybody was going, why did you draft that running back when you had James Robinson on the roster anyways, now is gone for the season. That could have been an offensive lineman for them. There was three top 8 offensive tackles left on the board when Jacksonville drafted Etienne. Now, I'm not saying that drafting Etienne, I knew that he was going to get injured. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, now your running back that everybody was questioning why you drafted him anyways, that you were now talking about put him in as a slot receiver, now he's out. So now your second first-round pick is out for the season. That should have been an offensive lineman anyways. But I digress. All right. Jacksonville, game over. All right, so we have a box to open for today. Just one. It's a small one today. But I got to get some stuff changed over real quick. Break cam over. Give me 1 second here, guys. You're right, Dave. There are better tight ends than Wilson out there right now, like Tebow. Just kidding. Just kidding. Totally kidding. Totally kidding about that. Where'd I put my knife? There it is. Eifert, absolutely. That would have been a good signing for him. All right, so our hobby or our box rip tonight is going to be 2020-21 Contenders Basketball Draft Blaster. Had one in a random box that I picked up, so I figured, hey, we'll use it for this tonight. So we get one auto per box, 7 cards per pack, 6 cards per pack, 7 packs in the box. And yes, LaMelo Ball has signatures in this. Wouldn't that be friggin' crazy to hit a LaMelo Ball auto dang near a year after this product came out? Alright, so here is the Contenders Draft Basketball. Embiid, Jaylen Brown. We got a Theo Maledon front row seats rookie. Winning ticket, Kemba Walker insert. Joel Embiid, JJ Redick. Bradley Beal, Chris Middleton. We get a Georgia mascots card. Didn't even know those were in there. Corey Brewer winning ticket. Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. Wow. Okay, so we're getting... It seems we're getting the same two players, and we're just getting their variation in the second set of cards. Kevin Durant. J.J. Redick. Killian Tilly, front row seat. Ticket, there we go. That's how that was. Jaren Jackson, red foil parallel. Kevin Durant, Dame Lillard. Remember, we get one auto in this box. Carmelo Anthony. Devin Booker, Jalen Brunson winning ticket. Danny Green winning ticket, red foil parallel. Melo Anthony and Kevin Love. R.J. Barrett, Anthony Davis, winning ticket of Shabazz Napier. Onyeka, draft class 2020. R.J. Barrett and Drew Holiday. Jimmy Buckets, Kevin Love, Florida Gators mascot, Albert the Gator. J.J. Redick, red foil. Jimmy Buckets and Pascal. Alright, so our auto should be in the last pack then. Harden, Drew, R.J. Hampton, and our auto. Let's get to these. James Harden and D. Russ. Let's see what our auto is. Kerry Blackshear Jr. Cracked ice out of 23. Boom. All right. All right. Not bad. Not bad. R.J. Hampton front row. There you go. Sticker auto number 21 of 23. Kerry Blackshear Jr. Yeah, these cracked ice are nice, absolutely. I honestly don't even know this kid. This, I'm drawing a blank on him completely. I thought I knew most of the rookies by now. So I'm going to look this up. Kerry Blackshear Jr. He is not in the NBA anywhere. So he is now with Galatasaray of the Basketball Super League, whatever the hell that is. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. Interesting. Okay. Have you guys ever heard of the Basketball Super League? That's literally what it's called. The Basketball Super League. Never heard of this kid. Well, his auto ticket out of 99 sold for $1.99. So he's obviously not somebody that's highly coveted. I've never heard of this kid, ever. That's crazy. Okay, then. Well, that's a little unfortunate. I was hoping for a little bit better auto to give away. Wah, wah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give away... Well, still going to give away the auto. I mean, I was planning on giving it away regardless, but let's do... I'm going to give away the entire insert and parallel set from this box. So we'll give away the Black Shear Cracked Ice ticket auto, and we'll give away the entire lot of inserts and parallels, because there wasn't really anything else in here to give away. So we'll do that. Okay, let me find my giveaway screen. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to roll the dice first. Come on. Because I don't really feel like switching back and forth on screens right now. So this is how many times we're going to randomize the list. 6 times we're going to randomize the list. Alright, so if you'd like to get entered into the giveaway for the Black Shear or the inserts from Contenders, just type me, M-E, in the chat. Me. So we got David Miller, Taylor, Shane, anybody else? We only got 3 people on, so probably not. Alright, since it's 8 o'clock, we're just going to get rolling on this. I don't see anybody else in here. So 6 times we were going to randomize the list. So top person's going to win the Black Shear auto. And the second person is going to win the stack of inserts and parallels from the box. So we're going to randomize it 6 times. Good luck, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th and final. Good luck. Shane winning the Black Shear. David winning the inserts. Congratulations. Congratulations, guys. All right, so as I said before, we have card show this weekend in Portland at the Mall 205. David says shoot him to Taylor. Okay. Taylor's getting the inserts then from this winning card show in Mall 205 in Portland down this weekend. Don't forget next week is let's see, no, the week of the 15th there will be no Sports Stuff Hub Live and no break night. So make sure you guys mark your calendars for that. Get your spots for tomorrow night. I got Certified Football up on the board right now. PYT 2-boxer. Elements Football PYT 2-boxer. Topps Chrome Baseball Hobby 2-boxer PYT. And a 2-box Jumbo Random Team, I believe was the order of the breaks. So make sure you guys get your spots in those breaks, because those are going down tomorrow. We have significantly less than 24 hours until break night. Topps Chrome Hobby is the PYT, Jumbo is the random. So yes, we've got great breaks tomorrow night to hit, so make sure you get your spots in that. I saw a bunch of spots actually flew off the board while we were live tonight, which is always nice to see. So I'm going to let you guys go. It's 8 o'clock. We actually ran a little bit over tonight, but it kind of makes up for being early the last couple weeks. So, all right, I will see you guys here tomorrow night on break night, or if I don't see you on break night, I will see you here next week on Sports Stuff Hub Live. Have a great week, everybody, and stay safe out there.